What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Kojay's Corner, my podcast, where I talk about anything and everything on my heart and mind. And lately, and always, it's about Palestine. There's a lot of humanitarian crises going on around the world, especially Congo, Sudan, Yemen, a whole bunch of places. But if you watch the show, you already know. If you don't, I really want to do my best to spread awareness to everything. And Palestine, I feel, is the key centerpiece of a lot of problems. And I want to do my best to spread as much awareness as possible as I already have. And I feel like it's still not enough. There's a lot of deaf ears, but I feel a lot of people have heard us. So, you tuning in right now, listening or watching this, I appreciate you making the time, and I hope you stick around for the whole thing to listen to everything. I have a really good, awesome. Actually, I usually try to always have good, awesome guests on this show, but this guy is one of my activist brothers. He's in a lot of the protests I've been to and more. Without further ado, I want to bring to the stage my boy Rami. What's up, my man?
What up, Kojay? Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks you for being on. And you're going to be the first. I'm going to switch to the Empire Files format style for Abby Martin. Make sure you watch Earth's Greatest Enemy. Boom.
Oh,
I know that's how she does it, this thing. So we're going to try and honor her.
yeah, I like it.
So, my man, this is actually really cool because I'm used to seeing you at the protests, and we don't really have much conversation time unless we do get a sit down moment when we're having food or something. I think last time we were talking about Korean films, which is definitely my jam.
Yeah.
But yo, you're Palestinian American, and I want to ask you this, like I ask everybody: how is it like growing up and living in America, however you want to share, knowing the truth and just seeing everything going on? Because you've known about Palestine, I assume, your whole life, right?
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. As long as I can remember, probably since I was 10 years old, and it's definitely a trip being Palestinian. If there's one population that that the people in power really want to dehumanize, it's Palestinians.
Yeah,
Uh,
dude.
and they go, especially in my generation, right? They're going through tremendous effort to get people to um, not view Palestinians as human, not view their deaths as something important, not view their oppression as something that is unjust, but instead to view it as, oh, well, they're terrorists and they brought it upon themselves. So yeah, growing up and seeing how the media just bullshits everything that's happening in Palestine and never really presents things truthfully or fairly, because the media is owned by a couple billionaires.
Mm-hmm.
It's never presented anything truthfully or fairly. Anyone who's still
Yeah.
watching mainstream media, I feel like just is living in like the olden days or something. It's not where truth is found.
Yeah, like
It's
why? Why watch all that? Especially with so much coming out with the Epstein files and everything. Oh,
yeah, yeah. It's just programming. It's just indoctrination that's trying to pass itself off as news. I
mm-hmm.
always recommend people go to like Drop Site News, Democracy Now. There's Counterpunch. There's a couple different outlets that you could actually get truth on. This mainstream media, we all know, is corrupt and is all is consistently consolidated in the hands of a few billionaires.
Oh yeah, it's
It was the same back then as it is now. So
I would
growing
say
up,
even worse now. Now it's so commercialized because when you watch anything and you see commercials, that should be a red flag right then and there because you know that the show is making money off of commercial revenue, which means you could be bought out.
yeah,
And they have a huge production. I have a good idea about production. That's a lot of money. It's not just commercials. You're getting money off of that revenue, so
yeah,
other interests and everything.
yeah. And I
And
don't know if you remember Phil
mm,
Donahue. He had a talk show back in the day.
mm.
Uh, I was pretty young back then, but he got booted for talking about Palestine. So it's always been
Oh, is that what happened to him?
yeah, and the censorship of
Dang.
Palestine has always been there since I was old enough to remember.
Wow.
Um, And I would remember just how unfair that was and how upset that made me, how dehumanized I felt, how traumatized I felt. It's really systemic trauma, right? And to be Palestinian is to almost have complex PTSD, right? Because you have
Yeah, man.
designed against you to dehumanize you. Um,
How do you
and
get through all that?
yeah, it's really hard to get through, honestly, because it's happening to all Palestinians around you. It's happening to your family members. It's happening to your cousins and your relatives. And we're all just kind of struggling and drowning in this anti-Palestinian racism that's
Hmm.
systemically programmed in the people of this country, and even globally. One thing it's also not only that, but it's also the victimization of our oppressors, right? So that, oh well, any kind of fighting back against your oppressor is anti-Semitism. So not only are
Mm.
you demonized and dehumanized as terrorists, but also as anti-Semitic racists, and we're gaslit in this way constantly. From a young age, especially, as an adult, you could probably defend yourself from that a little bit better. But
Hmm.
as a child, you just, it just traumatizes you on a deep level, and it's something that never gets talked about. It never has gotten addressed, right? That Palestinians have had to suffer that growing up in this country, and abroad as well.
Dang, yeah, man. It's so crazy because when I reverted to Islam, and even before reverting, uh, I was starting to pick up on all the lies, like radical Islam and jihadists, like, and even there, it's like so exposing. So it must be even more so for American Palestinians and Palestinians anywhere, just to see how um, the murderers are always like the victims somehow, and
Yeah,
they must be protected above all other ethnic groups and whatever, which is pretty racist, anyways. Anytime you take a group of demographics and you put one above or one below, that's prejudice, that's racist, that's wrong, and that's weaponized, man.
absolutely. And
So, oh
I
yeah,
also think that the same has been done to the Jewish people, right?
no, yeah.
Zionists in particular. They've been indoctrinated uh, to hate Palestinians and view them as their enemy.
Even
I
the
don't,
Jewish Palestinians they're hurting.
yeah, and I don't believe that. I don't believe we're enemies. I believe that we're allies and we don't know it because there are really a few people who are oppressing both of us,
Mhm.
and they're using a lot of Zionists to do so, to oppress the Palestinians and consequently to oppress themselves. I think Israel has done more damage to the Jewish religion and to the Jewish people than the Nazis of Germany.
No, no, I agree, man. And what you said is really beautiful. That we're really against cruelty to any people. Like, I don't understand. I don't know if that this point of view exists anymore. Hopefully, it doesn't. But I would get pushback from saying, "Oh, if you're wanting a free Palestine, you're wanting another genocide." I was like, no, freedom isn't doesn't require genocide. That's the Zionist thinking that what you need genocide other people to get what you want. That's not true. That's wrong. We're against that on anybody. So how does it feel, man, when you're surrounded by more protesters from all faiths, Jewish, Hindu, Muslim, everything, who are like standing in solidarity with Palestinians? Like, how does that feel, and when did that start feeling good?
Yeah, I mean that's really only started recently, right?
Hmm.
Since after the latest escalation of the genocide on the Palestinian people, October 7th,
Yeah.
people have started to wake up, and including myself. Seeing the bravery of the Gazans um, really inspired me and really woke me up from my slumber. When I was younger, I would
Hmm.
engage in more activism. Um, and then for a long period in between, like kind of the middle of my life, I kind of strayed from it and just
Why?
kind of was focusing on myself. I think it was just because I was trying to fit into the status quo. I wanted to kind of quote unquote just be normal and just do the normal
Mm.
things that normal people do. And ultimately, I probably just needed a long break
Mm.
to recuperate. And but I found that that didn't make me happy. It really, and I found when I got more active in my life into protesting and stuff, I became more free as a human being, more happy as a human being. I had more meaning and fulfillment,
Mm.
more confidence, more dignity. I think it was. I think my mental health took a hit when I stopped organizing and I stopped my activism.
Wow.
So I think it's really important for people who are suffering from mental health issues as a result of all this to understand that activism is a part of recovery. Speaking out, showing up, building community with other people who have human morality, right? And who can assure you that your view of reality is a valid one, because the media and society want to gaslight you into thinking that it's not right.
Mm.
That the Trumps of the world have the right morality, and that the Netanyahus of the world are the heroes, right? When it's the exact opposite. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, being in community who sees through the bullshit and can kind of validate you that, hey, yeah, you're not crazy, they're crazy, is really important, and it's more important than we think.
Oh, definitely. And I love what you said there, bro, because you said activism is a part of the healing process with trauma. And that is so beautiful. I was telling like on one of my episodes a long time ago, and probably again because I repeat a lot of stuff I say. But when I used to go to church, um, or when I did, I would feel a healing sense because I felt at the time there's a lot of people around me who are on the same page, understand goodness, have a similar faith on what is right and wrong, and we're here to celebrate that. And I would be moved to tears on and off, like even no matter how long I would go there. And then when October 7th happened, that all went away because I was shocked. It wasn't October 7th, it was around October 14th, actually, when I saw the first video of a Palestinian father holding his child and around all this rubble, and he's yelling. And uh, I was just shocked. I was like, whoa, what is this? I thought the horrible stuff was on October 7th. Why is it even worse now? What
Yeah,
is this? Because at that time, I had no investment. I just had an ignorant, light understanding what was going on, which I had no understanding what was going on, actually.
yeah,
And then when I
yeah,
looked it up, I was shocked, bro.
yeah, yeah.
And
And when I say that I was like asleep, kind of before October 7th,
mhm,
that the bravery of the Gazan people woke me up. It was because I was hanging out with people and valuing things that I realized later was just full of shit, right?
mm,
When a genocide is happening live streamed to your phone, and the people you're hanging out with aren't talking about it, are not caring about it, um, and the spaces that you're in don't want to discuss it or talk about it, and want to pretend it's not happening, then it wakes you up to really like who are you hanging out with? What kind of spaces are these spaces?
mhm,
I was involved in like some spiritual spaces before October 7th, where I really thought that, wow, look at these like guys that are so spiritual and they're gurus, and they're really far along the spiritual path. Come October 7th, they're silent. They're silent on Gaza. They're silent on the genocide. And I realized, wow, actually these people are just full of shit. Their
mhm.
morality is not as developed as they would like to present themselves. Maybe they have a developed spirituality, but it's not
Empathy.
their morality did not co-develop with
Mm.
their spirituality.
That's weird because I feel they should go hand in hand. Because if there's no empathy or compassion in spirituality, then it's probably just a bunch of mumbo jumbo ego,
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
privileged even.
yeah, yeah. Morality doesn't have to follow spirituality. Is kind of what I realized. You can
Really?
go far along your spiritual development and have the horrible morals, and you can see that in some spiritual leaders that have scandals.
Hmm.
You even want to think about the Dalai Lama and the situation that happened. I mean, I guess he showed up in the Epstein files, and then the situation with the kid that he was saying that he was trying to convince the kid to suck his tongue on video. I don't know if you saw that. That was really
Oh yeah, I saw.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's what I kind of realized is that these people don't really know what they're talking about, and I valued them a lot less, and I valued a lot more the people who I found in the activist community. And I said, these are my people, right? And I finally felt like this is my home. This is where I belong. These are the people who I want to share my life with and be with. And the rest do not matter because they don't share my morality. And my morality is very important to me.
That's well said, man. Wow, because like I was saying earlier, when I thought at church these are my people, and the feeling went away. My very first Palestine protest at City Hall in LA, um, I had that feeling of community. I didn't know anyone. I didn't even talk to anyone. I was just there. I showed up and I was crying like I did at church. I was like, wow, these are not just people I relate with. These are people who know what's up. And I felt closer to God in a Palestine protest because everyone was on the same page for something that was morally correct. And it's like I at the time I found my new church, you know, like it really bothers me. And this is why also I'm trying to do this on my channel, man. Because before I started being an activist, before I thought I was, but it's all bullshit. Now I know what it takes to try and make a difference, you know, in the most peaceful awareness, banging the drum kind of way. And I really want to normalize the entertainment we escape to with what's going on in the real world. Because just like you said, that there's a lot of people who don't even care a genocide happening. Well, where's their mind? Where's it focused? It's distracted on entertainment. And privilege is like when you know or can see something bad happening and don't do anything about it because it's in your mind, you think it doesn't affect you, or you're convinced it doesn't affect you, so you don't have to care. That's privilege, and privilege is violence, bro. I don't like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I definitely noticed a lot of privilege in the spaces I was in before.
mm,
And it just consequently, it ended up being a lot of white people in the spaces that I was in before.
damn.
Different permaculture spaces, spirituality spaces.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it really environmental activist spaces,
Animal rights spaces.
outdoor hiking, camping type
Yeah.
skills was an interest of mine as well. A lot of white people, maybe 99% white people.
Mm.
And I realized that after the genocide happened, that I was hanging out with a lot of people who have a lot of privilege, but also just kind of colonial mentality.
Mm.
Because kind of their ancestors were the colonizers, and they built the colonization machine against the indigenous.
Yeah.
And so there is a blind spot to all that. Having come from that background, there is a blind spot. Having come from a background of indigenous people
Mm-hmm.
who are oppressed at the hands of the colonization machine, it's easy for me to see what it is. It's easy for me to see and know what it is, right? Because I've been personally oppressed by it, and my people have been personally oppressed by it. But when you're the oppressor and you're kind of your home is in the machine of oppression, it's harder to see, right?
Dang. So,
Um,
oh yeah, go on.
yeah, I didn't want to mention that, like, we both found that this joy of being in community with the people who share our morals and protesting and we really have the Gazan people to thank for that,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, if it was not for their courage, if they just laid down to their colonial oppressors, then we would still be asleep, doing bullshit, bullshit people, and living bullshit lives. That's my truth, right? Had
No,
they
I think
not,
that's the truth. Yeah, I'm with you.
yeah. It's like, had they not been so brave and so courageous and just really the example for all of humanity, I'd still be asleep. It's them that woke me up. That's them that gives me the courage to actually say no. Like, we should all have our rights. Human life should be respected. That you can't just take what you want. Might is not right. and it's them that taught us all this, and it's them that woke us up and allowed us to be within our own inner power. So I definitely just want people to know that it's not us helping the Gazan, that the poor Gazan people. It's the exact opposite, right? The strong, the brave, the courageous Gazan people are waking us up, showing us, and they're the leading example. And I do believe that they will go down in the history books as the heroes of humanity. Honestly, I do believe that.
No, you're right, bro. I believe that because dude, you're right. Because what they're doing, they're waking up the humanity in everybody, and I think we're talking about the privileged people, right? So like, I really want to bridge the gap of people who escape into the bullshit stories, because the stories are bullshit. You like Star Wars, it's a resistance. People say resistance, but if it's like Huzzah, people are with the empire, not with the resistance. What's going on? Yeah. It's like there's this disconnect. So this beautiful revelation you've had, that I've had with our humanity, and though the privileged society, is it like stubbornness? Do you think we could reach out to them? Do you think there's a way that they could wake up too, or is it a lost cause?
Yeah, I think it's always easier to punch down than it is to punch up. People do not want to take responsibility because, I totally understand that, we live in a world where it's really hard to get by, especially in Orange County, right? People have to spend most of their life working and focused on just trying to survive. It is much more inviting to believe that in the larger world around us, the good guys are winning and the bad guys are losing, right? And that and it's much easier to punch down than it is to punch up when you're overwhelmed, you're in that state, trying to survive. So I believe that that's also true of all oppression, not just for Palestine, right? People would much rather believe that the United States and Israel are the good guys. I'm saying prior genocide, right?
Yeah.
That they're the good guys, and that they're fighting the nasty, bad terrorists who just want to kill people. And so I don't have to worry about it. I can lay my head to sleep or watch TV when I get home, and I don't have to worry about everything because everything is as it should be in the world, and I don't have to take on any additional responsibility. Right? That's what I think is the reason why people choose to believe these narratives from these psychopaths and evil people who are the oppressors, who have all the power. Yeah.
So the privilege ignorance, it's like temporary, you think, of those people, or I don't know. I'm really trying hard to get through them in the most.
Yeah, I mean, I think they just have to have the capacity to care, and they have to be able to afford to care. I think in a weird way, you have to have privilege to develop your morality. Because you need time to develop your morality. You need space to develop your morality, usually. You need to be able to contemplate, to think about things.
I see what you mean.
You need downtime to be able to really do these things. It's not to say you can't work full time and still develop your morals. You totally can, but it takes more discipline. So in a weird way, I believe that the more privilege you have, the more morality that you develop. Even if that privilege comes from the immoral actions of your ancestors or even of yourself. As you know, white people tend to believe that they have a higher morality and understanding and wisdom than most indigenous people. Usually.
Well, that's why no one cares about Congo over here.
Yeah, or the third world, right? And they'll say stuff like, "Oh, well, look at the Palestinians. They're not as woke as we are in LGBTQ+. So if you're gay, why do you support Palestine?" Right?
Yeah, I hear that.
But why is that?
Often.
Why is it that you are more awake to the LGBTQ+ issues than Palestinians? Because your country and your ancestors have gone around colonizing the world, stealing and oppressing from other nations and other people, and bringing that wealth back home, giving you the comfort, the luxury to sit there and develop your morals and philosophize and contemplate, right? And to live in a more free society. So Not only that, did they, steal the moral development of the third world and the vulnerable populations of the world, but in so doing, they increased their own morality in a sense and decreased the morality of others, right?
Mm.
In a sense. So it's basically stealing moral development and then saying, look how moral we are compared to them, right?
Mm.
I don't know if that made a lot of sense. It's kind of very
Kind
convoluted.
of like superior, like a class system as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. Some people will just take it for granted. Well, if you look around, the American people seem to be more morally developed, more intelligent, more good, right? Trying to get
Mm.
the sense that they're more good. Well, in a weird way, if you do colonize other countries and steal from them and oppress them and bring wealth home to yourself, you tend to have more of an opportunity to develop that. And they
Mm.
tend to have less of an opportunity to develop that. So I know Palestine was one of the more secular countries before it was colonized by the British and given to the European Jews.
Mm.
After they colonized and oppressed the people of Palestine, you saw religion come more up on the scene.
Mm.
Just struggled to survive and needed a relationship with God and needed to find a refuge and something to keep them going. So you also, when people in the West say, "Oh, well, look how traditional they are, and look how religious they are, and backwards they are, and all these things," it's because of you, white colonizers. It's because of you that they're that way. And I just want them to know that, because that's privilege that they really need to be able to see through that they're not better than, right? That they got that kind of better than idea because they stole from the third world and robbed them of their ability to develop.
Mm-hmm.
And
Took all the goods and living with nothing.
Like to have if you look at something like Iran, right? They'll look at Iran and they'll say, "Oh, look how backwards they are, and how these leaders and da 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 da." It's because of U.S. interference. It's because the British went in there and wanted to steal all the oil, and they had to fight the British.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, they've been constantly going after them, trying to demonize them, sanction them, isolate them. They tried to install the Shah. The Shah was in there for a little bit. So the people realized, crap, we have to really buckle down right now. We can't just live in a free society, open society, because the CIA is going to come in here and try to install their puppets and rob us blind.
This is what they're trying to do right now.
Yeah, they're still trying to do it. So the people rose up, the people organized, and you got this Islamic republic in place, and they were popular because people saw them as people who could fend off the CIA and in America, right? So they gained popular support. So if you don't like that kind of thing, they'll say, "Oh, well, look at Iran, look at this Islamic republic. They're horrible. They're closed off society. They're backwards." Why did they come into power in the first place? Because the Iranian people were not given the space and the freedom to develop their own systems, their own societies, free from fear of CIA interference and colonizers and thieves, right? So then you have these people come into power who that a lot of people will just criticize, but wrongly criticize. They'll blame the Iranian people for putting those people into power. And that's not the system that put those people into power. The system that put those people into power is colonization, are these thieves, these European thieves. In 1920s, 90-something% of the globe was colonized by white Europeans.
Whoa.
Including Palestine. That was the height of colonization.
Dang. Shoot. Huh. So we protest a lot, bro. You protest the most though. Like I'm trying to get to as many as I can, and I'm always happy to see your posts and all our friends posts like, "Oh, someone out there is doing." Yeah. But I try to make as many as I can. You do a lot. Like I see you all over the place. Like even the day we were protesting over our bridge over in Fullerton, and you're going to see the flotilla take off and drive all the way there. I was like, oh, I wish I could go.
Santa Monica, yeah.
Yeah. That's when you got your clip that I hope you showed earlier. So, how often? When did you start actively protesting? And like, how many have you been to? And what have been the most memorable ones?
If you want to talk about start,
Because I
it's
have another
probably,
question after that.
oh yeah. If you want to talk about start, it was probably when I was like a teenager. I would go around and stencil the streets and go to protests and make signs and hand them out and educate people about Palestine. I had make T-shirts. I would do art. It was really highly discouraged actually by my parents, unfortunately.
Really?
Yes, they did
Why?
not
They
want
didn't
me
want
to
you to
get
be
in
a
trouble.
target or something?
Yeah, they were worried that I would get in trouble, and they actually went in and destroyed a lot of my art, ripped up a bunch of my stencils, and
Wow.
yeah, they really did not want me to be
An
active.
activist?
Yeah, and I didn't come from an activist family at all. They were
Hmm.
quite the opposite. But yeah, I kind of forged my own path and went my own way, and as a result, I've developed very differently than the rest of my family.
Dang.
But yeah, so I started young, and then there was kind of a big, I don't know if I would call it a big break period, but I kind of, I also had a chance to do humanitarian work in Lebanon. I don't know, maybe that was a good time to kind of segue into that. But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so after kind of that period of kind of hitting the streets and being anti-cop and going to pro-Palestine protests and etc. Um, I don't know what kind of led me to decide to go to Lebanon and do humanitarian work over there because I graduated as a nurse and so
Oh,
after getting
hey.
my license, yeah, I decided I want to kind of put myself in. I did want to go to Palestine at that time. I wanted to put myself with the people rather than on the streets over here.
Mm.
That was kind of my line of thinking. So I went over to Lebanon to be able to have an experience of living in a refugee camp while finishing my college out there.
Oh, wow.
So when I was out there, I ended up living in a refugee camp for over a year, doing different types of humanitarian work and different types of any way I could find to support the people there.
Yeah, because when you're working in such areas, you live among them as far as your services,
Yeah,
with
yeah,
medical and whatever you provide.
and that was always the plan. I remember when I was very young, maybe 11 or 12 years old, and I would see stories of how Palestinians would be massacred, and then when the ambulance drivers would come to save them, then the ambulance drivers would be massacred, and that would make me so angry for some reason, and that really bothered me. And I remember thinking to myself that like if they're gonna kill ambulance drivers, let them kill me.
Mm.
Which is an interesting thing because when I was in Lebanon, I saw a lot of Palestinians who really felt the only thing that they could do to stop what was happening was to die.
Whoa,
I
like, what do you
have to
mean?
explain that a little bit more.
Yeah,
Uh,
please.
so yeah, when I was living in the camps, uh, I'll explain a little bit about the situation over there. It's a really sad situation that Palestinian refugees live under. So in the when the British colonized Palestine and then gave it to white European Jews, um, 750,000 Palestinians were kicked out of their homes, and the white European Jews would move right on in, and they wouldn't allow the Palestinians to return. Right? They wanted to keep their land and keep their homes, and they wanted to establish a Jewish state that they could pretend was a democracy, and they didn't want the demographics upset. So they denied Palestinians their right to return home, which is an international right,
Mm-hmm.
and it is a crime against humanity to deny them that right.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people forgot about these refugees, and they don't come up a lot in conversation. They live in other countries, largely countries that are not friendly to them because those countries could not really absorb them.
Hmm.
Maybe they could have. Maybe they could have. I don't know enough about that topic, about economics and etc. But I do know that they live in a situation where they can only live in these refugee camps, and they're not allowed to work, and they have no hope for any kind of future. They have no papers. They can't travel. They can't move around. They have no money because they can't work. The only types of jobs they can find for example, Lebanon is jobs that no one wants, jobs that are dangerous, or jobs that where they can be extorted. So, for example, in this refugee camp, I met a doctor who studied to become a doctor in Palestine, and then was made a refugee, moved to Lebanon, where he's only allowed to live in a refugee camp, and he's not allowed to work. So what he had to do was find a Lebanese doctor to hire him secretly, under the table.
Mm-hmm.
And this Lebanese doctor would just say, "All right, well, I'll just give him all the work. Take 90% of the payment, and I'll give him 10%." So that's how Palestinians
Wow.
are extorted in Lebanon and other countries. I'm not going to say that all Lebanese do this, because likely they don't.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
This was the case where they're very heavily extorted by Lebanese professionals who just realize that I have this opportunity, and maybe they even feel good about themselves that well, I'm giving him work when he wouldn't otherwise be able to work. And they might
Mm.
think they're doing them a favor, right? And in some cases, I guess in a weird way, they are. But Palestinians are very extorted, and it's a really sad situation. So you're trying to convince kids in a refugee camp to go to school and to study and to work hard, and they say,
But for
"Why?"
what?
Yeah, they
Mm.
say, my brother did that. I'm not stupid. I saw him, and now he's depressed because he can't even get a job. He wasted all that time. I'm not stupid like him. And how are you
Mm.
going to convince those kids to go to school? In my specific camp I lived in, there was in a lot of camps it's just Palestinians, right? It's just a Palestinian camp, and they keep it that way. But in the camp that I specifically moved into, it was kind of notorious for the Sabra Shatila massacre. It's called the Shatila refugee camp.
Mm.
It's been the site of many massacres by Israelis, Lebanese Christians, and even Shiite Muslims.
Mm-hmm.
And so in this camp, you don't only have Palestinians. You have a Roma population that lives around the outskirts of the camp. Within the camp, you have different migrant workers from all over the Congo and Sudan and all these different places. You have them living in the camps. You have the Shiite Muslims have a presence in the camp. And I won't go into the details of how they came to be there, but essentially they were initially sent there to be a protective force for the Palestinians, and then ended up massacring the Palestinians. But a lot of them still stay there. And then you also have Lebanese outlaws, because the thing about the camps is you can't get people. The Lebanese police and the Lebanese army kind of have an agreement in the camps where they're not going to go in there. They're going to allow the Palestinians to police themselves. And the Palestinian kind of militias or organizations that have weapons head up security of the camp. And so, you have these Lebanese outlaws who are running from the Lebanese police and the Lebanese army going to live in these camps. A lot of them pretend to be Palestinians, and they get fake papers to be Palestinians, and then use those to get aid from international organizations that are trying to help the Palestinians. And so they live in these refugee camps alongside Palestinians, and you can
Mm-hmm.
imagine they're outlaws, they're criminals, they're people who kind of have that morality. You could even say gangsters or mafia
Mm.
type. And so the Palestinians have to live with those people, and frequently get shot by those people, oppressed by those people, etc. So it's a
Damn.
hodgepodge of different types of people, and that's what makes Shatila refugee camp so volatile. Many times where I'd just be walking down the street in Shatila, I would hear just gunfire or bullets would fly over my head, people fighting over who knows what. I did have a situation where when I was walking down one alleyway, I saw a dead body that was kind of just like in pieces on the floor, and people yelling and screaming, and I had what I had walked into, what I didn't realize at the time, was someone had just been murdered and then dumped from the fifth story of a building that I was walking next to.
Dang.
So when he was dumped, he was split open. It was a Palestinian man. He was in his early 20s, and he had bullet holes all up in his chest here. And from what I gathered, it was kind of like a drug deal that had gone wrong or something like that.
Mm.
I don't know what the real story is. That's just kind of what the hearsay was. And yeah, I journaled about it, and I wrote down my experience of that. ended up turning into like a camp war, because the camp security was trying to arrest the guy and put him in a cell at the I would call it like a detainment center or like a tiny jailhouse in the camp. But the family of the deceased wanted him executed on the spot.
Damn.
So did most of the camp. So the security forces and the family of this man were battling it out in the heart of the camp. Little kids everywhere. I can't even explain to you what it's like to be a little kid growing up in the camps. You have to see it for yourself to believe it.
Wow.
And I'll get like teary eyed talking about it because it's a hard life for these kids, and they grow up fast and they grow up strong. But yeah, these kids have to dodge bullets regularly. It's not a thing for them. It's just like, oh, here we go again, and they'll just like try to hide by something. And it's the same for elderly. You got elderly, grandmas and grandpas that are, just trying to hobble by, but then they have to, get caught up in some crossfire. So yeah, it's a hard life for those kids especially. And you'll see, you'll be out there maybe at midnight, and you'll see babies walking around with, diapers full of poo. You see little kids that are like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years old that are, shirtless, shoeless, and just getting harassed by people in the street at like midnight, covered in mud, and they're fighting back against people who are older than them. So you see a lot of sad stuff. If you walk the streets of the Shatila refugee camp, and this camp has defined borders that they are not allowed to live outside of. Imagine 750,000 refugees. It's not going to stay 750,000, right? Because humans multiply. So the refugees are in the millions now, and so when you have a fixed size refugee camp, but the humans are multiplying, there's only one way you can go, which is up. The only thing is that most construction is not allowed in the camps. Construction materials aren't allowed in the camps because they don't want people building. They don't want the size of the camp to increase.
Even going upwards.
Even going upwards, right? So they don't allow construction materials. So they have to smuggle in construction materials, and then they have to go up. So these untrained people who don't, they're not construction people. They're just someone who's just like, okay, I just had a kid, started a family. Now I got to move out of my mom's place, and there's only one place to go, up. Right? And so they have to just smuggle in some construction materials and put together this thing. And as you imagine, the higher you go, the scarier it gets.
Yeah.
And you also imagine that these buildings are pretty close to each other because they're trying to maximize their space. So you end up with a lot of very narrow alleyways with really tall, 5, 6, 7-story, 10-story buildings in some cases. And when I say buildings, I mean like hand built.
Yeah.
Right? Really janky. And so I had a situation where when I was living in the camp, a pregnant woman was walking down through one of the alleys, and a massive brick fell on her and killed her because they were building up above. And that's what it's like. That's what it's like there, right? It's like they're trying to build these things in these narrow alleyways below, one little slip, and whoever's walking in that alleyway is gone, right? You also see wires everywhere. They're just makeshift electricity. I'll see if I can send you some pictures. But it's a horrible situation that these people have to live in, and this is also an aspect of Israeli oppression that is not talked about and is not as frequently kind of felt on a visceral level, like the struggle that they're going through.
That's an open air prison. That's like a mini Gaza.
Yeah. And they're stateless people, and they have no government or nothing to protect them. And the best that they can do is just hope to rely on international aid. And really, they don't have much of a life. They really do. I was actually friends with this like, I don't even know how old he was. I would say 11, around there. He was young, and he was a plumber, I guess you could call him. And his job was to stick his arm down clogged toilets full of shit and unclog them with his hands. And he wouldn't use gloves. You know, he was just a
Damn.
little kid, and then I saw him do it. He put his whole arm down in the toilet full of shit, and he unclogged it, no gloves, and he actually had cuts on his hand from doing all types of labor or whatever.
Dang.
So I was like, you know, I was telling him, don't do it. I was like, you have cuts on your hand, they can get infected. Don't do it.
Yeah, yeah. Infections could be
And he
horrible.
made me feel like I was the biggest wuss. He's like, what the hell are you talking about? He's like, you don't know how we live here. You know, he's like this little
Wow.
kid, and he did it with his hands, and he's just like, and then the water he rinsed his hands off with smells like eggs because the water in there is horrible. You know, when you turn on the
Oh.
water, it smells like eggs. The place is full of roaches. Man, I remember the first time. Sorry, I'm rambling, but I remember the
No,
first
no,
time.
no, no. You're really painting the picture of what it's like
Yeah,
there.
the first time I went to the
People
camp
should
to
know.
check it out. You know, I just was, you know, saying like I want to live in the camp, right? So I went in there to check it out, and there was a massive fire in the camp, not the biggest one it probably has ever had that day. It turned out. So when I was walking through the camp, you know, I realized what was going on. There was this big fire. I kind of came right at the end, so they were like just putting it out. But there was this whole section of homes that had completely burnt down. And then I don't know for what reason, but it ended up that all the cockroaches just flooded up to the surface. I don't know if they like heat or if they got burnt out from beneath the homes or what, but it was cockroaches were covered, like the ground was covered when you looked down. And then there was just everything was burnt. People lost everything in that fire. So that's another thing that happens is, you know, it's really dangerous situations. It's very common in refugee camps where you have massive fires where people lose everything or die.
Damn.
And you know, it could be as simple as someone old was making some tea on a burner, fell asleep, and boom, you know,
Wow.
30, 40 houses are up in flames.
Damn.
So it's a really sad situation, and there are a couple movies that will kind of try to depict it. But I don't believe I saw anything out there like documentaries that truly captures the amount of suffering that these people go through. And I do want to say that, you know, Palestinians are not just suffering. I will also say that I saw some of the most beautiful moments of humanity in those camps. Some of the
Like
most
what? Do you
heart,
have any?
yeah, like seeing a whole family who is really has one room to do everything in. You know, and off the room there's a bathroom, and then there's one room that's the kitchen, the bedroom, the living room, etc. And it's literally when it's bedtime, they all get together and sleep in the middle of the floor in that room. You know, the whole family sleeps together, cuddles up together. And it's beautiful. You know, I just, you know, to see something like that is, you know, despite all the suffering that they're going through, they have to rely more on each other to get through, and that builds strong connections. And it's really beautiful to see the strength of those connections and the strength of those families. You know, the more you have to go through, the more you rely on one another. Which makes it even, you know, makes you realize it's even more sad when Palestinians lose, you know, a mom or a dad or a brother or a kid, because, you know, you really know what that kid meant. It was the world to them. It was all they had.
Wow. Yeah, that's a thing that bothered me about the privileged. Like, once upon a time, my family, we lived in a guest house where it was probably as big as my small living room here in the apartment here I got. It was probably a little big. I don't know, maybe 700 square feet, some maybe more. But we just had that one room and a bathroom and a little bar corner for the kitchen and stuff. And I had a bunk bed, me and my sister, and parents had the bed in the middle with my other sister. It was very, very small, but we made it work.
Yeah.
And I hear now and then, and I see on TV, like, you know, reality shows or whatever I've seen, some people look at a house that's bigger than what we had and they go, oh wow, this house is too small to have a family. Like, we this society has this weird norm that you need a certain amount of size to have a happy family and have encouraged distance apart from each other, you know. Whereas I'm familiar with people, even back in Sri Lanka, people have smaller huts to live in, but they're all together. And they know each other inside and out. Like, there's this bond that, you know how they say if you pray together, you stay together, you eat together, you
Yeah,
stay
yeah,
together. So
absolutely.
take that phrase and put it every single thing of living together. You guys are a tight knit family, and it's
Exactly.
interesting that the quote quote nice modern colonized world, there's all this separation and
Yeah, absolutely.
segregation going on that's celebrated, but not enough really being together. And
Yeah,
that
because the more isolation you get, the more consumerism you get, and
oh sure.
the more GDP you get, and then they're trying to pass that off as the most important thing. That quality of life is and happiness is equivalent to GDP. How high you can get your
Mm,
GDP to go.
dang.
But yeah, it's all bullshit.
Wow.
Quality of life is in relationships.
Oh
It's not
yeah.
being isolated consumer. You know.
Yeah, our bonds, our memories together. It's everything. What other beautiful things you said you saw there?
Yeah, let's see. I mean, definitely talking to the children. It's crazy how to see. You know, when you compare an 11-year-old here, it's like to an 11-year-old there. It's like you're like, wow, actually, this situation has done a lot for your maturity and your wisdom and your depth and you're like all old souls. It's like I'm talking to an 11-year-old and he's wiser than me, you know, and I'm in my 20s. It's like, whoa, you know, so that's like really beautiful that, you know, I bet you have so many poets, you know, like these 12-year-olds that could tell you about life more than anyone else that you'd probably be able to
Wow.
hear, you know? And you know, being able to stay up with them late at night and you know, sitting on top of a rooftop and just like letting them just you know spread like talk their wisdom to me and share their stories and really beautiful moments that I'll always remember. I got
It's okay, man. It's okay.
yeah, it's like it's amazing what you know an emotional connection to someone can do. You know, you can hear stories all day about you know hundreds of thousands of people getting slaughtered by Israelis and you know you make an emotional connection with someone who's just kind of oppressed and suffering but nothing compared to what's happening in Gaza and it's just like you know you end up having so much empathy that can come out of that and I actually really think it's a project that I'm engaged in right now. I'm trying to get people to build relationships with people with Palestinians. You know, I don't want people to just send money to Palestinians. That's not going to help, honestly, in the long run for many
No,
reasons,
it's very
right?
difficult because even in the my last episode with Shireen, she mentioned that of all the a lot of donations, like almost around like if I remember correctly, what she said is around like 70% is kept, and the rest is given to where it's supposed to go.
Yeah, yeah, and then you also have the economic situation where you're pouring a lot of money into an area like Gaza that's under siege. All you're really doing is raising the prices of essentials, right?
Mm,
That's why you have people paying like $20, $30 for a tomato or something like that over there.
dang.
You know, so it's like money is kind, but it's not enough. What really is going to protect the Palestinian people is if you really form bonds and emotional connections with them. Because you know, even when I was when I was sharing my story with you about that kid, like I welled up in tears and you know empathy and humanity because you know we spent time together talking to each other, and I understood this is a human being and a beautiful human being. You know, because we can forget that these guys aren't just numbers; they're beautiful human beings,
Mm.
and they're in someone's entire world. You know, because they are really close knit families. And with the way we're dehumanized, you know, we're people think of us as just numbers. You know, so
Dehumanizing is disgusting, man. Like if I see any person, I see a human being, man. And I'm not trying to say I'm better than anyone or anything, but literally, scientifically, we're all human beings. We are a race, a human race. It's very simple. Maybe I watch too much sci-fi movies to get that, but uh I don't understand how you can see a child and not feel anything because of how they look or where they're from. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Or a family or innocent person. I can't
yeah,
fathom that. But
yeah,
I feel like it's rocket science and it's some crazy puzzle that apparently cannot be solved to relay that to someone else. Like some people really don't see other human beings as human beings, like another
Yeah,
species or a subprimate or I don't even
yeah,
know.
yeah. I think fundamentally it's because people don't feel like they can afford to care because they're drowning themselves. Because if you imagine someone's drowning
Mm,
in the middle of the ocean and they see someone drowning next to them, they're not going to care about the other person drowning next to them, right?
mm,
They're just going to be thinking about survival and just making sure their head doesn't go underwater. In a lot of cases, actually, when you have two people drowning next to each other, one will push down the other just to survive, right? And
dang.
that's why lifeguards have that thing that they throw at you when you're drowning. Because if a
Mm,
lifeguard swims up to a drowning person, that drowning person is so desperate they'll just pull the lifeguard under the water so they can get
mm,
right.
yeah.
I think that concept is true for people who can't afford to care about others. They can maybe they're in a situation where they can only afford to care about their own family. I don't mean afford by money. I mean by their capacity there to care.
Mm,
If you're struggling for mental health, if you don't have relationships or connections in your life, and you're just trying to survive and you're just trying to make it to the next day, and you hear about a Palestinian suffering, you're just going to be like, who gives a shit, right?
yeah.
You're going to be like,
It's
I don't
not
want to think
me.
about that. Yeah, they're going to be like, I don't want to think about that. I'm just going to
Mm,
focus on this narrow set. My circle of care and concern is going to be this big. But the more
mm,
you live a healthy life, the more you have beautiful relationships, the more you have a relationship with God, the more you have you take care of yourself and you don't fall into this consumer's trap, the larger you're going to be able to grow your care of and your circle of care and compassion.
mm,
It's include more and more people from outside your nation, people from outside your religion, people from outside your moral beliefs, even other species or the future generations. You know, how many people are really thinking about other species and future generations? You know,
mm,
even if they manage to be able to care about Palestinians, like how big can you really make that circle of care and concern? And the healthier you are as a human being, and the better you take care of yourself as a person, and the less you allow yourself to get distracted, the more you're going to be able to grow that circle of care and compassion.
mm. I also feel like, there's another false stigma out there, or I don't even know if that's the right word, where they're like, you should care about this and this because of your children and your children's children. Like, it's like that mindset is only care about your little tiny nucleus. It's never like, we got to care about this for everyone. It's never like that. It's like they know you can only, so they kind of cater and that message is kind of, um, fine tuned to only care about yourself and a limited space of people rather than other
Yeah,
people.
yeah,
Man, uh, man, it's so toxic all over. Now, the other part of my question, back to the protests, is I've heard people say protests don't do a thing and they're
yeah,
wasting our time, and I get a lot of out of it personally, and I don't know if that's selfish, but like one of the things I get out of it is not just community, but I get to see and hear how many people care about Palestine that probably don't say anything to the people who are pro the genocide and the terrorist state of the illegal occupation. Um, I wasn't saying names, right? So we see like our banner drops, for example.
yeah,
We see the middle fingers, and then when they see I'm recording, they do a thumbs down. They don't do a middle finger. But I get like probably I feel like we see an average of like 15 of those. It's always like under 20. But the people honking and making sounds and gestures in solidarity are in the hundreds.
yeah,
So, but I know it's kind of like a safe place because you're driving by, you're not talking with your friends or family or coworkers and all that. If you're in the car driving by and you're seeing us, it's easy to honk the horn and like Target is on the BDS, and then we get Target drivers looking at us going,
yeah,
"Yeah, free Palestine!" They're honking too and all that, right? Um, we I get to see that the majority of people passing by care about Palestine, so I know it makes a difference. But I don't
Absolutely.
hear a lot of noise, enough noise to like tear
Yeah.
the corrupt system down.
And I
So
would
my
say that it's
question,
not only you that, oh, I was going to say it's not only you that sees that, it's everyone else that sees that. So you have
mm,
your person driving around, along, doesn't know what's going on, doesn't inform himself, is ignorant. And he sees everyone's honking and throwing up the fist. And he's like, okay, people support this. Like, what
mm,
is this? And then they associate the people around me support this flag, support Palestine, support Gaza, are upset with Israel. And then they're making that connection. When I
mm,
first started protesting down in the Main Beach in Laguna Beach, it was incredible to see that because even myself, I didn't realize that so many people support Palestine.
mm,
Kind of in the earlier days, and so for me to even witness that, I was shocked, and then the people around me were shocked, and all the white people were like, "Wait, everyone supports Palestine," and they're like, maybe I should too. For the first time, that thought comes across their head. Because
mm-hmm,
most people don't want; they just want to do the status quo. They want to do the social norm, right? That's a
mm-hmm,
huge thing, is social norms. The majority of people are conditioned for social norms and will follow social norms. I don't think that's a bad thing, but I think when
mm,
you have a world that's on fire that needs change now, I think that we need people who would just flush social norms down the toilet and
mm-hmm,
be led by their morality. When things are going well, you want social norms to dominate, right? Because it's like, maybe you do, because it's like things are going well and we want to follow the lead of our wise, elders and ancestors. And so following social norms makes sense, right? If you think about hunter-gatherer societies who have developed for millions of years, what works on life on Earth as a human being, you're going to want people to take the wisdom of their elders and to pass it down rather than reinvent the wheel every generation. So social norms work in that context, but when you're in a situation like we're in now, where psychopaths control the world, and they're setting social norms using Hollywood and using the state-owned news and media outlets, and celebrities, which we also saw were full of shit, had no morals when after October 7th. So when they're using all these people to establish toxic, disgusting social norms that are anti-human, then we need people like Greta Thunberg. We need people who might be on the autism spectrum, who have no regard for social norms, to come out and say, this is fucked. I don't care what the social norm is, right? But most people follow social norms. So when they're out and seeing everyone supporting a protest, they're realizing maybe the social norm is supporting Palestine.
mm-hmm.
Maybe I should look into this. I'm going to support this now. How many people support Palestine right now because it's the social norm? A lot right now.
Mm,
You know what I mean? I know
yeah.
I've so many people at protests that don't know anything about Palestine, but they're like, yeah, I support Palestine. I'm pro-Palestine, because they've been around. They see associations and they see, well, all these people support Palestine, and the anti-ICE people support Palestine. So yeah, I support Palestine. All right, they're just going
But
along
I
with.
feel they all know something. Like I always ask someone,
Well,
they know
yeah,
one thing that's enough.
that's enough. Yeah,
Yeah, and I think one
but
thing is enough.
we have been organizing a lot with Democrats now. Like the reason why our crowd was so big last time, last banner drop, we had 50 people, because a lot
Do
of
you think that's
Democrats.
because Republicans are in power? Because I'm at a really because I don't like Democrats or Republicans equally.
Yeah,
Two wings of the same
likewise.
bird. That's
Yeah,
me.
same part.
But do you think they're trying to help because they want to get some traction for their end? Because right now there's the
Yeah,
Republicans in power. So
I
can
think.
that be trusted?
Yeah,
Because
I
it's
think
kind
that.
of like I don't know if they're helping out of their good heart or out of
Yeah,
getting a political gain.
no, I think everyone has their doorway to things. That might have been their doorway, but I do think they're human, and they're starting
Right.
to wake up. And it's not their fault. I really do wanna. I wonder if we could throw it in there. But it's this clip I saw on Instagram of this guy describing how like poor Americans, like they've been psychologically manipulated and abused their entire lives. And so it's really interesting to hear him speak about that. I wonder if we could throw it in this video. I don't know
We
if
can throw it in. Give me a second.
no, I don't mean right now, but we can maybe edit
Oh,
it
I
later.
was ready.
Yeah, I don't have it right now. I have to pull it up.
No, I can give you time. You want to?
No, it's fine.
Ah, phooey.
It's easy to edit in later, right?
No, I can do it live. Well, not live, but recording. I could, yeah, I could do anything. You want to do it
Yeah.
now? Take it now or later?
No, we'll take it later.
Fool.
Unless you want it now, I'll pull it up.
Actually, I do. It's my show. Here we go.
Let's
We're
do
gonna.
it.
All right, we found the video, so we're gonna post it. And you said this is not the original poster, right?
Not where I originally saw it, at least.
Okay, okay. So let's check it out. And
this guy, crazy what he says.
Poor people of America. Not because they are weak, but because they were the first to see the machine from the inside. And I'm about to defend the working class of America like no one ever did. And by the time I finish, you'll see them with different eyes. For over a century, the American people have been fighting back. They have. Through civil disobedience, whistleblowers, grassroots movements, union strikes, and the relentless invocation of their constitution. The real battle wasn't red versus blue. It was corporation versus constitution. And every time the people gained ground, the system adapted. You have to understand something very important. When a system becomes parasitic, it doesn't destroy its enemies first. It destroys the host. And America has been the host. America was also the test lab. They were first to be flooded with addictive pharmaceuticals. First to be buried in weaponized debt. First to be psychologically fractured by engineered identity wars. First to be entertained into sedation. And first to be punished. Because if Americans woke up fully, it would be game over for the machine. That's why the system doesn't fear a foreign enemy. It fears the awakening of its own people. The American people are a hero, but no one told them they were living in the dragon's mouth. And what you're witnessing in the collapse of trust, the social chaos, the inability to distinguish truth from manipulation isn't because the people have failed. It's because the people have been systematically broken and then blamed for it. They are not the tyrants. They are the first line of resistance that's being crushed preemptively, so the rest of the world won't get any ideas. So what now? Do we abandon them? Do we mock them? Or do we finally recognize that behind the opioid crisis, the obesity, the division, and the rage is a population in mourning? Mourning the death of its sovereignty, its family structures, and its purpose. The question isn't whether Americans deserve to be free. The question is whether they remember that they were born to be.
Listen to this guy, crazy.
wow, if they remember they were born to be free, dude. That's a good video. I'm glad we showed it, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it's a good reminder that you know, if we point, you know, to white people or to, you know, Democrats or any kind of American, you know, and put blame and shame on them, it's not going to help, because they're also have been systematically broken by the system.
Yeah.
And what we need is for them to not be blamed and shamed, because that's going to further, you know, put them to sleep. You know, we need to support them, and we need to, you know, which really is almost a segue into another interesting point that I've kind of realized, being Palestinian, is that as a Palestinian, we really we're forced to take responsibility for the moral development and the awakening of our oppressors. Our very survival depends upon Zionists waking up. You know, Zionists developing not only their morality but their critical thinking, their ability to see through propaganda, and to wake up from the cult of Zionism, which is what Zionism is today. It is a cult. And I've spoken to a lot of you know, anti-Zionists who were indoctrinated as children to be Zionists, and they similarly describe it as a cult. That if you deviate from the belief system, that you are kicked out of the community, you are kicked out of the family at times, you are denied, access to support, so it threatens your livelihood, threatens your career, etc. So this is what a cult is, right? So so that is, it reminded me of that even though we have their neck, their boot on our neck, we have to take care of them, which is crazy, right? We are oppressed by them, and yet we are there. We're forced into caregiving for them to survive. But it's what makes Palestinians strong people, right? Not only are we forced to survive, but we are taking care of our oppressors as well, because our survival depends on it. So, same is true here with white America, right? They've been oppressed just like Jewish Zionists, right? They've been indoctrinated, they've been fed lies, and have their moral compasses skewed for the sake of empire, for the sake of a few billionaires who wanna play mafia with billionaires of other countries like China and Russia, right? And everyone else that's caught in between is a pawn, and the game is collateral damage. And that's what we're seeing. Palestinians are nothing other than collateral damage that was caught in the crossfire of a game that the U.S. is playing with China and Russia. And when I say the U.S., I don't mean the country. I mean the billionaires that control the country.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty clear that and if it's not clear, I'm happy to make it clear that our problems, our criticisms, our pointing out the obvious of who's the bad guys is really the governments.
Yeah, I always say it's not a war on Palestinians that Israel's waging; it's a war on truth. It's a war on humanity. It's a war on our inner moral compasses, because they can't survive with that, right? Because their whole country and their whole culture was built on the foundational lie of, this is our land and God promised it to us and belongs to us. So everything that follows has to be a lie. And then every ounce of truth is an enemy that needs to be destroyed. And that's why we see Israel's doing what it's doing today, which is consolidating all the media and buying TikTok. And you can't say from the river to the sea in Germany or you get arrested. Hold up the sign.
Dang, that's wild.
Arrested, right? It's across the globe. Austria, if you support Palestine, you get arrested. So yeah, when we're seeing it here that they're passing more and more laws, one in particular is this law that we passed in California that Newsom signed, right? I forget what number, AB 175 or whatever. I forget what it is, but essentially it's putting the ADL, the Zionists who are at war with truth. They're putting them in charge of genocide education of our high schools, in our public high schools, and that's what they passed already, right? So they're at war with truth, and they're being very careful to punish those who speak it and to control the narrative to skew it away from truth. And I want to make a point on what you were saying about governments. I do believe that politicians are puppets and serving. They're putting on it's like theater, right? They're hired guns, right? And they don't really control anything. Trump is not in control, right? It's the people who have paid for Trump that's in control. It's I don't even want to say billionaires. I want to say trillionaires. It's the trillionaire families who have always run the world since the dawn of civilization, in my opinion. And you have different families that are from Russia or from China and from the U.S. and the U.K. And they're all just playing this game with each other, still trying to be number one. And everyone else is just getting screwed. So we don't need to hate each other. We don't need to. That's what they want. They want us to be distracted, hating each other, fighting each other, killing each other while they make out. So like the mafia they are. So we need to realize that, and we need to remember that we're all on the same side. Jewish Israelis, Palestinians, white people. We're all, if you fall into the category of the people, we're all getting screwed, and we all need to unite against the few psychopaths who really dominate the world. We also have a system in which this is really important, I feel like, is we have a system in which people who have less empathy, have lower development of their morality, who are more likely to lie, cheat, and steal. They get rewarded in our system. Think about it: if you're trying to climb the ladder of a corporation, you have to be willing to to externalize costs onto future generations, other species, vulnerable populations. That's what's going to get you ahead, because that's what's going to make profit for the company. The more you externalize costs, maybe the less you pay your workers, the more you cheat them on their insurance, the more you're raising the profits. The investors are happy, and they're going to reward you, right? So we have an entire system, and that's true in politics, right? That's true in everything. The more you accept bribes, the more you can get marketing, the more you win. And then, so that the more corrupt you are, essentially, the less empathy you have, the more you're rewarded in this system. The more empathy you have, the more you're punished in this system. So the people, so it's really a systemic problem we have. Why are we always finding ourselves dominated and controlled by psychopaths with no empathy? It's not, it's not an accident. It's not a mistake. It's foundational to how the system works.
How it's set up and who's.
Yeah, they want to convince you that it's a meritocracy. The more, the harder you work, the more you'll get rewarded. That's what they tell you, right? In America, the American dream, you come here, you work hard.
Yeah, like what I said.
You're rewarded, right? That's not true. That's not what happens. It's actually the people who work hard and who maintain their principles and morals and refuse to externalize costs onto other living beings. They get punished. And the people who tend to work less but have lower morals and are willing to externalize costs, cut corners, lie, cheat, and steal, they get rewarded. So if it's not a meritocracy, what is it? There's a word that I want everyone to know. It's called pathocracy.
Pathocracy.
Pathocracy, like a psychopath. Illness, right? So it's not a meritocracy where the people who work hard get rewarded. It's actually the people who have less empathy, who are more clinically psychotic, get ahead in our system. That's true in politics. That's true in Hollywood. That's true as celebrities.
I feel like you just described Donald Trump's whole career.
Yep, and that's why we have people like Donald Trump, Alex Karp, all these other psychos, Stephen Miller. Joe Biden was a total psycho. Kamala Harris, Gavin Newsom, genocide denier. We have all these people who are right at the top. Why? Not because they worked hard. No, because they were willing to do nasty, dirty things because they had very low morals, and that pleased their financiers. And I want to drop those polls. Actually, sorry I just remembered that I wanted to drop those.
Want me to pause it, or you got it ready?
No, I got it. So I'm going to simplify it. Sometimes the numbers are 76%. Sometimes they're 73%. Sometimes they're 79%. Sometimes they're 81 and 82. I'm going to simplify it, call it 80. Right?
Okay.
80% of Israelis believe that there are no innocent people in Gaza. Right? So 80%. These are every single poll I'm going to mention right now, done by Jewish PhD professors at Israeli universities in Israel.
Okay.
Okay. These are not like Palestinians doing these polls.
This is from the Israelis themselves.
Yep, from the horse's mouth, right? And so 80% of Israelis don't believe there are any innocent people in Gaza, despite Gaza being half of Gaza's population being children, minors, right? Because they say that they'll grow up to be terrorists, kill them now before they grow up, right?
Yeah.
80% also support violently removing Gazans from Gaza and not allowing them to return and annexing the land. And don't take my word for any of these polls. Look these up. They're all online. 80% say that aid should not be allowed into Gaza. Even when they were starving to death, they said aid should not be allowed in, even if it's searched by the IDF and even if the aid trucks are accompanied by IDF vehicles. They said they should not get the aid. What other polls? Something like, what else? I'm blanking on some of the other ones. But I just wanted to share that because a lot of people are going to try to come out and say, "Oh, Netanyahu was just a rotten egg that took over," and
It
now,
wasn't like a
yeah,
majority.
yeah, right. No, it is the majority, and I want people to know that for one simple reason. Because if you're saying I stand with Israel or I don't, I support Israel, or just trying to defend themselves, etc., you want to know who you are aligning yourself with morally, right?
Hmm.
And if you think that a 5-year-old in Gaza is innocent, Zionists are not your crowd. Israel is not your crowd. You know,
Hmm.
if you think that ethnic cleansing is a good thing, then Zionists aren't your crowd. It's not just Netanyahu. It's the Zionist ideology. And so I just want people to really understand that it's really pervasive in Israel. And it kind of goes back to my point before that I kind of lost my train of thought. But Israel is
You bring up the polls and the
yeah, I brought up
majority.
the point because I wanted to share about how systematically
Mm.
indoctrinated people are, and I want to share why. I remember what I was going to say.
All right.
So I believe it's because empire, the United States, is always going to need morally depraved people to carry out its dirty work.
Well, yeah, all the killings and all the militaries targeting people.
Yeah, and I really think the only ace up the sleeve of the U.S. empire is how much people they have access to willing to do dirty work.
Mm.
So the Chinese, for example, I believe are so powerful industrially, militarily. They actually have a country built on a solid foundation. Our country is built on a house of cards. It's built on debt, and it's built on something as fragile as the dollar being used as global currency.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The minute that the dollar is no longer being used as a global currency, the United States collapses.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing keeping it up is military might. That's
Mm-hmm.
the only thing keeping people tied to the dollar, right?
That's our biggest export, you know?
Yeah.
Our
And
business.
we're $29 trillion in debt, almost $1 trillion a year to service that debt, the interest payments.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the business model of the U.S. In my opinion, it is that they just rack up debt as much as possible, and then they funnel all that money to the military to buy the biggest guns, and develop the most powerful weapons. And then instead of worrying about, oh, maybe we might have too much debt, they don't worry about it because they know that it doesn't matter. If we have the strongest military, we'll just go into Venezuela, take their oil. We'll just go in there, we just take whatever we want. So yeah, let's just keep racking up all the debt in the world, funneling it to our military, buying the biggest guns, and then we'll, if we need to pay it all back, stabilize the dollar or whatever, we'll just go steal the world's resources. We'll just go, steal what belongs to everyone else.
And the average American will be pressed so much on bills and a hard life to go sign up to take these jobs for benefits and better pay.
Yeah, and that's another thing that actually is an important thing, is that the United States presents itself, especially a lot of white people present themselves as, oh, well, we built this beautiful country and we made this country happen and because through our hard work, right? And we're all about hard work and all that stuff, right?
And our values.
Yeah, and when you actually think about your average American, how much they get paid for a unit of work compared to how much the rest of the world gets paid for a unit of work, right? Who's really working hard, right? They're working the least hard out of anyone in the globe, and they're trying to pass it off like they worked the hardest, and that's how they built such a beautiful country. In truth, they built such a beautiful country by robbing the entire world through colonization, through imperialism, through stealing resources, through oppressing people, destroying other countries, destroying people, and essentially just extorting the world.
Yeah.
And
also
so,
to like force the American market to be there and
yeah,
necessary and have no competition in a way because the competition is dead.
Yeah, and they rob all the resources from other countries, bring it to this country, and then naturally people are going to say, well, I can't live here anymore. It's been devastated and destroyed. I want to go follow the money that was stolen from us. I'll go to the U.S.
The country that's advertised to be so great.
Yeah, and that's where this idea comes from that, oh, well, America is great because if you go there, you'll make a lot of money. But what is that money? That's all blood money. That's all money that's been stolen, right? And all the Americans here, What they don't realize, they really felt like they've lifted themselves up by their bootstraps and they've really worked hard and made it happen for themselves. No, you didn't, right? Your government bought all the biggest guns, stole everything from everyone else, and it's trickled down to you. And then you're just receiving blood dollars. You're receiving stolen dollars. That's not hard work. That's the opposite of hard work. So as an American, you almost can't say like you worked hard because you didn't. You have such a high, I don't even want to say standard of living, but we have such a high GDP, per capita because of theft, not because of hard work, because we've destroyed and stole from the rest of the world. So I just want people to wake up to that reality, because a lot of white Americans are just so proud of themselves about how hard they worked and how beautiful of a thing they built, when it's all bullshit, right? It's the rest of the world that's working hard for pennies. That's hard work.
That
right?
is.
Because of their theft and their colonialism and imperialism. So
that's why I never really understood that the MAGA motto, "Make America Great Again." I was like, when?
Yeah,
it's like in the whole. I don't even know if they're still around, but now they're pedophile supporters. But I don't even know if they understand the level of ignorance in the whole thing. And I think if America truly is going to be great for the first time ever, America really needs to wake up to the cancers and the BS that we're doing, like social cancers and all these problems and all this immoral blood money business deals,
Yeah.
As soon as, because I believe America has the capability to do the greatest stuff to the world and for people, but it's invested in destroying people in the world,
Yeah, I think all human beings, have that ability. I don't know if America is going to be the one to do it. This country was founded on genocide.
Yeah, the ugly truth. That's why I don't do Thanksgiving anymore.
Yeah, and it was built by slaves and colonialism, and it's maintained by imperialism. And make America great again is really just, let's just go out and steal from the world again. Let's just go do what we did in Venezuela. Let's just go take Greenland. Let's just go do whatever. Let's just go take Gaza. Trump said Gaza's mine now. If that doesn't show you that Israel is a U.S. colony, I don't know what does. Someone just able to go in there and first of all, we've given Israel $500 billion, right? We've given them weapons. We've given them every veto that they needed at the UN. We've given them political cover. We've indoctrinated our own people for them. And I forgot where I was going with that, but
Israel's another colony of America.
Yeah, and we've done all this because it's not because we love the Jewish people. It's not because we felt sorry for them for the Holocaust. That would be really cute to think that that's what America is, right? Like it's just a really good guy that wants to do good things. It's for a very specific purpose, and it's to dominate the Middle East and control that region before Russia and China do, and to open up trade routes from it's essentially just a mafia. They're just taking resources, and then they got to say, all right, well, once we get the resources, we got to sell them to these people and sell them to those people, which means we need to control this shipping lane and that shipping lane. And they're just doing their mafia thing, and that's what Make America Great Again is. It's make America rich again through theft, through corruption.
More theft.
Yeah, and I really do think that the population of Israel, unfortunately, is being heavily indoctrinated to be the people who do the dirty work. When you think about assassinations in other countries and what they're doing in Argentina right now, what are they doing? Right? They're sending IDF soldiers to Argentina to light fire to Patagonia so they can buy up all the land. So
Mossad agents to start violent riots and burn mosques in Iran.
Exactly. In Iran, and they're assassinating people. Who is doing this? Who would be such who would have their morals so low that they would, have just these people to send around the world?
The IDF and ICE.
The IDF, right? And who also, a lot of the IDF are ICE agents, right? As well. So I really do believe they're completely destroying the Jewish religion, indoctrinating the Jewish people, especially the Zionists in Israel. And I want to be clear on that. It's not all Jewish people.
Yeah.
right?
We have
We
Jewish people in our protests for free
don't
Palestine.
anti-Zionist Jews all the time. And I'm not saying it in a negative way. I'm saying they're being indoctrinated heavily into really into this, and they have this country that's very closed off as far as media and stuff. They're not reporting on what's happening in Gaza over there. They're reporting it's all fake, right? If you go talk to your average Israeli, they're going to say it's not real. People aren't really starving over there. They're not really dying over there, etc. What do they call it? They call it Gaza wood or something, like Hollywood.
Oh, Pallywood.
Hollywood, right? So they're really heavily indoctrinated in this bubble. Even a lot of American Zionist Jews you go to your Jewish preschool, you go to your Jewish middle school, your Jewish high school, you go to Hillel at your college, etc., etc. They're heavily indoctrinated to support it. But over in Israel, I do believe they're indoctrinating people to have a pool of people willing to do really dirty things in the world and to humanity, because empire needs the dirty work to be done. And that's really the only ace that America has up its sleeve. Is essentially an army to do really dirty work for them. Because China is, in my opinion, already the world superpower. They have the most, they've built the strongest.
Yeah, technically they are.
Yeah. But the only thing is they're not willing to do, dirty ass things like the United States is willing to do. And their attack dog Israel would do. Right?
Yeah, all the dirty stuff that's the criticism of dirty stuff I hear about China, it pales in comparison to stuff that our government is doing.
What they did in Syria, what they did in Libya, what they did in Iraq and in Afghanistan, they are fucked up, right? And they use the IDF to do most of it, right? And I'm not saying that because Israelis or Jewish people are evil. I'm saying, no, that's how much they focused on heavily indoctrinating them. And that, in my opinion, is the true anti-Semitism. They're using those people who had so much trauma inflicted on them that they were an easy target. That's why they've chosen that group of people, because they're an easy target to control and dominate and indoctrinate. And now they're using them to do all this dirty stuff. They're destroying their religion, their moral compass, the very fabric of their people is being destroyed. That's why I say it's worse than what Hitler did. Hitler killed people, right? But what the U.S. is doing is turning them into monsters that kill people. And whenever I ask people, would you rather be a Palestinian in Gaza or an Israeli in Tel Aviv? Everyone I know says a Palestinian in Gaza. I'd rather suffer and get bombed and genocided than be an Israeli living in Tel Aviv, sipping cocktails on the beach as the oppressor, right? And I think a lot of people would agree with that, which tells you something very important about how much that the West and that these true anti-Semites like evangelical Christians, how much they have degraded these people and destroyed these people. To the point where it's like, I'd rather die than be these people, right? It's so that level of degradation is what I'm talking about when I say what they're doing is worse than what Hitler did, because people would rather die than be them. And
because this is continued slaughter of people for generations and generations, built to pass it on. Like even our own government, like we were saying earlier, with having the Gavin Newsom having like those laws about genocide teachings. And it was like a few weeks ago we saw that clip, a guy saying we gotta make sure Americans going forward know the real history of Gaza, and not all this stuff that people know about. It's like, what? But then it's like so sick of a system that they're planning out the future generations to continue this. They're thinking long term, like this is always going to happen. They're always going to win. They're always going to kill the Palestinians until there's not a single one left.
Yep, but they're going to lose, and it's guaranteed.
Do you feel so? Do you think in our lifetime we'll see it?
In our lifetime, maybe not. I would say Israel. Yeah, no, I would, because the only thing I think that's going to dismantle this system is from within, is the children of these Zionists who are completely lost morally and in every way. The only thing that is going to dismantle this system is that their children and their grandchildren wake up to the reality, realize what's going on, that they're being used, for this imperialist project, and that it's completely destroyed their people and the moral fabric and the inner compass and the humanity of their people. Wake up and to fight back against those people, right? To fight for Palestine, to fight against imperialism side by side with us, and they're going to inherit, all the power and wealth that their Zionist parents had, and they're going to do the right things with it, right? They're going to reverse all this, and they're going to do reparations, and Israel will be no more. Guaranteed. It's like it's not even. There's no doubt in my mind. We've already won. I know that for sure, for a fact. Israelis, or I don't want to say Israelis, but the people who are doing all this know it for a fact. That's why they're so frantically just murdering, wanton killing, and genocide out in the open for all to see. They don't care that everyone's seeing and filming, because they're panicking, because they're realizing that what they thought was worth hoarding and gaining power, right? They thought if we get enough power, we'll be able to do whatever we want and we'll win. But they're learning now that power is weak. Power is nothing compared to strength. That's why they're throwing so much power at it, because they're saying, what the fuck? This power that I spent my entire life trying to build and trying to hoard and go after, that I sacrificed my whole life for, isn't working. And they just keep throwing more and more power, more and more power. That's why they're trying to silence and make it illegal to speak about anything. And they know that they're just grasping at straws. They know they're losing. They know that power cannot beat the strength of the human spirit. And they realize that they made the wrong bet. Right? They bet on power because they thought that it would be the strongest thing. They thought that power wins at the end of the day. It does not. Right? And they're learning that right now. They're realizing that right now. We've already won. Right? Truth is the river. You're not going to stop the flow of the river. Right?
Oh,
we're already on truth. Right? We're not trying to make up lies. We have nothing to hide. We're here speaking truth, for everyone to see. So it's easy. Our job is easy. We just have to ride the river of truth until we win, right? We're going to lose a couple battles along the way, but they've already lost the war, and they don't want to accept it. And they have this thing in Israel called the Samson option, right? That's where if they feel like they're losing, they're going to nuke the world.
Oh yeah, that one.
Yeah, and that's why some people say they're taking Argentina now, because when they do, they want to have a plan B. They want to be able to go to Argentina, which is really well situated in the event of, especially Patagonia, in the event of a nuclear war.
Wow. I was surprised to find out that there's a lot of Zionists in Argentina.
Yeah. The president is in bed with Netanyahu. He repealed laws that allowed foreigners to purchase land. And then he repealed a law that said that you can't buy land after it's been burned. That law was in place to prevent people from intentionally starting fires and then buying the land for cheap. It was a good law. He repealed it and repealed the foreign purchase of land. Why? Because they've been sending over IDF soldiers to light fires all over Patagonia. And then the Israelis are buying up that land. So they're planning.
Like those big fires we heard about?
Yeah, exactly. They have their plan B in place right now. Or they're trying to get it in place right now, and Argentinians are being oppressed as a result, and they're getting screwed over, and they're starting to wake up to that reality, and that's what we all have to wake up now. Don't wait till they come for you. Like, let's all do it now. Like, divided we fall, united we can win. And the people can win. But yeah.
Wow, man, bro, I love talking to you. And I'm glad we got this opportunity. I think this is the most we ever got to talk, because we're always in groups and we're usually protesting. So
yeah, being on a bridge is not the safest place to talk. And stuff, and people throwing stuff at us, and
man,
be, aware and vigilant. But it's good to chill and hang out and talk.
Yeah, and thanks for doing this with me too, to help me in helping Palestine by just keeping the conversation going, because I hope people listen to all this, and everything you said, man, was beautiful, and thank you for sharing that, because a lot of people are not brave. It's usually usually I get a lot of our sisters, the women. They're brave. They'll show up, and
Yeah.
I love that. So, you
Yeah, and I think it goes
gave us a
back to,
good bonus point for us men here,
yeah, right. Yeah, I think it goes back to like I might even be on the spectrum a little bit, kind of like what's her
I'm
name?
not perfect either. I have some issues too. I have a certain kind of
Yeah, yeah.
speech impediment going on. I have my
But
own
I think it is perfect
ADHD
right
thing
now.
going on. What
I
that?
think it is perfect. I think it is perfect to be on the spectrum right now a little bit. Like
How so?
what's her name? You brought her up earlier, the activist. The young lady who gets arrested who was on the flotilla.
You brought her up, Greta.
Oh yeah, what was her name though?
Greta Thunberg.
Greta Thunberg, right? So she
You
was very
brought her
open about being on the spectrum, right?
Mm.
And that's what we were talking about earlier. Like people who are okay with just disregarding social norms. And I really do think it's important that people, get more comfortable with discarding social norms. The social norm is toxic, it's psychotic, it's ill, it's unnatural. It's not a result of just natural human beings doing their thing. It's the result of billionaires trying to program what's socially acceptable and what's not. Right? So we need to get really comfortable with just trashing social norms. And speaking in the way I am right now, this whole interview, right? I'm just trashing social norms. The social norm is, oh, well, you don't say that to people because that seems a little extreme. That seems like a conspiracy theory or that. No, fuck that. We're going to call it like we see it. We're going to tell the truth. Truth is out there for everyone to see right now, and it's not the social norm to go protest and stand in the street and go. Even when I go on a hike, when I pass everyone I pass by, I say, hey, free Palestine. Hey, how you doing, free Palestine? That's not a social norm. I'm busting social norms because we need to, because the world is on fire and we don't have time for social norms right now. Ideally, we would have generations where this could just slowly change, but I can't do it slowly. You know what I mean? And now we need to do it quickly. We need to do it now because this is not sustainable, and we're all going to be screwed. And that brings me to AI real quick. We're all going to get fucked by AI. This is how they treat us, right? When they need us to work for them.
To replace us.
So when they don't need us anymore because of AI is going to replace a lot of what they need us for, how are they going to treat us? Think about that.
Yeah, like if robots are all doing the jobs, how are we going to make money to buy groceries?
Yeah, these psychos, these mafias that just use us as pawns and don't give a shit about us, work us to death, indoctrinate us, twist our morals. You know what I mean? Like, that's when they need us. They're not going to need us pretty soon. So we need to wake up now. We need to fight back now because we don't have a lot of time left. And that means dumping social norms. And that means like really uniting, understanding one another. And not just going about business as usual, right? Now it's not time for that right now.
I feel you, man. That was good. I was going to give the floor to you. I still want to give the floor to you. As a closing, because we're around that time, I would like you very quickly, if you don't mind, I want you to speak to my audience and anyone who's watching this who has yet to speak up on, say whatever to them, because I think it's my goal. I want people's hearts to open as well as their minds and do something. So I would like to give the floor to you. Say whatever you want, my man.
Yeah, I would just urge you to come out. Right? We talked about protesting and how it might not do anything for in the large scheme of things, but I don't think that's correct. I really think the world changes as a result of how we interact in our microcosm with the people around us, being in relationship with other activists. So show up to the protests. OC banner drop for Pali. Follow us on Instagram. We're putting on events. We're doing banner drops at bridges. Your presence matters. There is something I would like to maybe share, Kojay, if you're there still.
Oh, I'm here.
Yeah, I would like to. I don't know if we could show another clip because I think it just really just sums up what I would like to end with.
Oh yeah,
That's in there.
Here we go. Here's your clip.
There will be times when the struggle seems impossible. I know this already. Alone, unsure, dwarfed by the scale of the enemy. Remember this. Freedom is a pure idea. It occurs spontaneously and without instruction. Random acts of insurrection are occurring constantly throughout the galaxy. There are whole armies, battalions that have no idea that they've already enlisted in the cause. Remember that the frontier of the rebellion is everywhere, and even the smallest act of insurrection pushes our lines forward. And then remember this. The Imperial need for control is so desperate because it is so unnatural. Tyranny requires constant effort. It breaks. It meets. Authority is brittle. Oppression is the mask of fear. Remember that. And know this. The day will come when all these skirmishes and battles, these moments of defiance will have flooded the banks of the Empire's authority, and then there will be one too many. One single thing will break the siege. Remember this. Try.
Yeah, hopefully that worked and you guys were able to see that video. There it is right there. If you think that something doesn't matter and won't have an impact, just know that it could just be one more thing that breaks the system and allows us to build a better system in its place. So show up, be in community, support one another. It's what it's all about. And, your bravery is going to inspire another act of bravery. And it's going to be a snowball effect. And we've already won. Let's all do it together, and hope to see you out there.
Hey, well said, brother. And shout out to OC Banner Drop. Check him out. The link is in the description below. Also have Long Beach Banner Drop, Whittier for Palestine. You check them out. I got all these links down below. Do check out the description for that. And you showed Andor. You didn't tell me what you're going to show. I was just like, let's go. And hopefully, yeah, like I said, YouTube lets me put it up there because copyright stuff and all that. But, we're not making money on monetizing this or anything. The actress of that show, Andor, I forgot her name, the Irish actress. She's strong on Palestine, and she loved doing Star Wars and the themes about the crossovers with it. And I was on some watch party shows about it, and it was interesting because like I brought Star Wars talk, originally George Lucas talks about the resistance and everything, and I feel like that's still lost on people. It's just entertainment. These words have meaning and meat, and coming from under Disney of all things, putting it out. But
comes from unexpected places. Is it cool if I give a shout out?
A shout out?
Yeah. Something that I would love for people to check out.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, it's called Nonviolent Communication, developed by Marshall Rosenberg. It's really powerful, really amazing. I'll send you the link, Kojay.
Yeah, please. I'll put it in the description.
Put it in the description. It'll be a YouTube video. Watch it, study it, learn it. I do believe that you're only as effective as an activist and as a human being, and you only have the capacity to care, at larger and larger levels, if you're able to form healthy relationships with others and be in connection with others. Human beings really need connection. And a lot of times not having the proper communication skills puts us out of connection. And we're always, as human beings, going to have misunderstandings and hurts and conflicts. And if we have the right tools and the right systems to use, we'll be able to navigate those conflicts well and get reconnected again. And then it's truly that connection that allows people to afford to care about others, to afford to care about future generations. So we don't have to keep passing the buck on, as these poor kids that are going to have to carry this heavy, heavy burden because of us failing, not to be good people or good activists, but failing to learn the proper skills and communication skills and emotional intelligence skills to have healthy, good relationships with the people around us, including our wives, our kids, our mothers, our fathers, our siblings. It's so important that we learn how to connect with all of them well and to navigate conflict with them well, because conflict is inevitable. So what's allowed me to do that, I really have to give credit to nonviolent communication, teaching me about my emotions, about my feelings, about how to properly communicate, how to navigate conflict and reconnect when conflict happens. Without that, I would not be able to afford to care about anyone else or to engage in activism.
Wow.
So I really want to encourage everyone to watch that video. I'll send it to you. It's on YouTube. And it is, Marshall Rosenberg, Nonviolent Communication Lecture that he did in San Francisco, I believe in the 90s. And it's 3 hours long, and it's worth every minute. Starts off a little corny. Don't even worry about it. Keep watching it. When someone initially sent that to me, I started watching it, and I was like, this seems really corny, and I turned it off 2-3 minutes in. I didn't pick it up again until 2 years later, and I really regretted that I lost those 2 years. Watch it through. It's not corny. It's the most deepest, most profound thing that you'll probably ever watch in your life. So learn it, watch it, and understand it's like learning a new language, right? You're going to suck at it at first. And the more you practice it, the better you get at it. And the more it can really, it can increase your ability to connect with others, and especially the ones closest to you that you're most likely to be in conflict with. I have a great relationship with my partner, Jackie, as a result. And we just support one another, and we're called like the power couple sometimes, because we're always just supporting each other and doing things together. And that would have not been the case had I not learned those skills from nonviolent communication. So I encourage you to watch it.
Hey, thank you so much, man. Again, thank you, my brother, for being on the show. I got a lot of love for you. You and Jackie, your other half, man. You guys are awesome. Thank you for taking this time. And everyone, I want you to listen to these words. Check out that video. Check out the links below.
I'll say one more thing, actually, is just
do it.
If you feel like you're in conflict with someone, if you feel like you're in conflict with someone right now, like your mother, your siblings, your kids, your whatever, and you've been putting off that conflict, do your best to learn how to navigate that conflict well and mend things with them, because I really believe that is how the world becomes a better place. I believe a little bit differently than maybe most people, how most people view causality, right? I don't think that the world becomes a better place if we have the right strategies and push on the right leverage points, et cetera, et cetera. I really think what it comes down to is how we treat the people around us. And that little voice inside that's telling us, maybe I should really just call my sister. Maybe I should really talk to my kid right now. Maybe I should really mend that relationship that got broken and ended in disconnection. Because really, when you do, that is what truly changes the world. That is my understanding of causality. Thanks, Kojay.
Yo, thank you, man. That was a lot. I love every moment of this conversation. And thank you, you watching and listening this. Appreciate you a lot. So if you're not in the know, check out the links, see what's going on, and hopefully we see you at our next protest. And much love, everybody. God bless. Treat yourselves well, treat your neighbors well, and free Palestine all the time until it happens. Peace.
Some section of society has to stand up and say, no more business as usual.
Tonight, pro-Palestinian protesters face off with police at UC Irvine. Law enforcement arresting dozens as they...
Israel is a U.S. colony. That's all it is. They only call it Israel because Jewish supremacists chose to get in bed with the white supremacists who run this country and who run the UK and who run Europe. Europe and this country want to colonize the Middle East. So they went over there, took over Palestine, and found a bunch of Jewish supremacists to go settle over there, to go steal the land and be the regional superpower in the Middle East, so the US and Europe can extract resources and colonize the Middle East.
Okay. And do you have a message to the people that are unaware of what's going on or how it affects them?
Yes. And one day everyone will say that they were always against this. This is the darkest time in human history. Mark my words. This will go down as the darkest time in human history because this genocide, this Holocaust happening right now is live streamed to everyone's phones. And everyone is normalizing it. People are not speaking out. The world is speaking out, but Americans are kept dumb by the billionaire-controlled media in this country. Look at democracynow.org daily to find updates about Gaza. Daily. Don't look away, because our representatives are doing this here in the U.S. Israelis are our generation's Nazis. They're Hitler's disciples. They are doing the most disgusting criminal war crimes ever imaginable. Hundreds of thousands of children are starving to death right now in Gaza with food less than a mile away. Food, international aid, and thousands of trucks less than a mile away. And little girls and little boys and families are starving to death. It takes months to starve to death. Months. It's one of the most painful ways to die. They want to eradicate all of Palestinians so that they can pretend that Palestinians never existed. Because their whole culture, their whole country is built on a lie.
In one sentence, what do you want for the future of Palestine?
I want everywhere, the whole world to be decolonized. I want white supremacy, Jewish supremacy, and every other supremacy to end.
All right, thank you, brother.
Thank you.